Next up, we have the Bearish Pre-Runner. So this is just, kind of the opposite, just on the bearish side of, the bullish pre-runner. So we think people are getting out of it beforehand. I think Delta or one of these airlines is in there, some of these other ones. So not as many trades here. I wouldn't say it's one of the favorites out there, but, you can find some good trades. But, I think deciding, which ones you want to trade would be an important thing, especially, because there's so many, it's hard to, do what Sudhir did with tracking them all. So some people have favorites where they're just trading like the volatility crush and the bullish pre-runners. Another one, the bullish runners, I think did really well last time. So, I think, this is just one where you're going to get a few trades, and it could help offset, the swings in the market. If you have, 5 bullish pre-runners, you got 1 bearish. So, but we just follow the data and see how they test. So, same thing, we're looking 5 to 20 days out, looking for a 25% gain this time on a long put versus the call. And, we're just looking for that 25% and getting out prior to the earnings. Same, thing that we talked about with only the long call with the bullish pre-runner. We're only doing a long put with the bearish pre-runner. Same thing, it makes sense. The volatility is going to be increasing. So any kind of spreads are going to be offset with that. Any kind of short, calls are going to be offset with, volatility increasing going into that earnings announcement. So the reason we, focus on earnings trades alone for, a lot of our trades, it's it happens 4 times a year. It's outside of the normal. And there's a lot of things that happen, like this volatility rise and volatility crush, that just don't happen outside of these earnings windows. So it's kind of a different, trading tool set, that you can do each quarter consistently. But I think it's different than just kind of normal trading outside of the earnings window. So we try and, find different aspects in the market where we can, have an advantage as far as trading. So this is the bearish pre-runner strategy. Long put, this looks exactly the same as the bullish pre-runner, except for it's long put. So, we go from 20 days and then we test 19 all the way down to 5, 25% profit target. We don't have stop losses on these. It's not going to go to 0 before earnings. The good thing about that volatility increasing is it's going to keep, even if it moves against you, it's, you're not going to ever get to that max loss because your options are well beyond what the earnings date is. So, I wouldn't expect anything, worst case scenario, much below 50%. Unless it really moves against you. So that's why we don't have the stops in there. In general, just when you're doing long calls, long puts, these things can swing quite a bit each day. So if you put in stops, the market makers are going to see that and, make the thing go down real quick and clear out stops. And then, so we just kind of, like to do those manual rather than put in order in there. However, on the profit side, we don't mind putting them in there. So, so this is the screening we do. and we've moved this down. Previously the bearish pre-runners were, I think, 5% or 4%. So we moved it down to 3% to get a little more more candidates. And the other thing, on the bullish side, we when I had 4% in, Google wasn't in there anymore. So I know that's kind of like the gold standard. So of what we've been testing over the past few years. So if Google's not in there, then I moved it down to 3 and Google populated. So I moved this down to 3% too. So this is the Delta trade from last quarter. So you can see it's been dropping quite a bit. This one may be borderline, but overall looking pretty good. Last quarter. So this was a 15-day entry prior to earnings. And then this shows the last quarter, what we presented, and had a nice win rate, 90%. So pretty strong, bearish candidate. I think we only have a few that are 90 or above. So this one shows the current quarter. So this was, the latest earnings here. You had a nice drop off. Looks like, 15 days before. So this one, and I guess on the side note, Sudhir's results are going to be a little different than ours. We have end-of-day data, so this will take a snapshot 15 minutes before the close on 9/18, and that's your entry point. And then it'll take a snapshot at the end of each day and tell you whether you hit that 25% or not. So it didn't hit that 25% until 9/21. So I guess 9/18 was entry. So so I guess that's right in here. It actually nailed it on that one. So you had a good profit. So let's see, this one was 15. So then this quarter, it actually moved it to 16. So 1 day back, but still, overall, this one has 80% win rate this time versus the other one, which had to 19, which had to 90%. So this was the best available the 16 days. And that's all in the spreadsheet there. So EOG was another one that we presented. See lots of sorry, I'm checking chat real quick there. Okay, Sean's on it. So EOG, this was from last quarter. Had some good drops. A few kind of borderline ones. The 6 days prior to entry, so I was looking too far out. So 6 days. This one's pretty close in. Overall, this had a 90% win rate last quarter. Really strong profit factor. This close to the earnings, you're probably not going to get too big of losses, but I think this one actually did lose for the current quarter. It did come up as another recommendation for this quarter at 6, but you can see here this was one of the losing trades for EOG. Entry on 10/28. It looks like a little less than 50% loss on that one. So I guess it had to populate kind of instead of, I think it's probably right in here before the earnings. So a few days earlier looked like you could have done well, but this one was a loser last quarter. So now we're showing 90%. So the previous one had 90% with the earliest trade being the loser, and now this one has the latest one being a loser. Still really good profit factor. If you believe in these trades, you want to do them repetitively. You're going to lose some, but if you're still I think that's the key, is you got to keep trading them, because some of them are going to lose each quarter. So this one, like I said, doesn't have a ton. I think it's our smallest number. Overall the market's been really bullish, since 2009 for the most part. We've had some big drops and things, but it's always come back since then. So haven't really been in a bear market since then. So not getting a lot of bearish trades going in there, overall 9 total. So, same thing with the earnings plan. And this was the same type of information for, the put side. Always use a limit order and put in, as soon as you enter that trade, just put in the limit to get out. That way, you don't have to watch it constantly.